Hello there, fellow folks. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back for the What If series. So right here, we'll be talking about artists that miss potential opportunities in their career. And we're going to change it up around a bit. So in this vid, an artist who I admired for a very long time, and I talked about him on the show before. That was on the first season. And that was all about one of my favorites, and his name is John Farnham. I talked about Farnham in the past, and anyway, where this what if story comes in together. So, this takes place in the year of 1980 and 81 and 95, where Farnham performs at theaters and clubs. And what am I referring to? Well, I'm referring to an album that was released in 1980, and that goes to Uncovered. So, where did the idea came for when I was thinking about doing the Uncovered tour idea? So, I don't know where this came about. It just came out of nowhere. And of course, at the time, I couldn't figure out the story and ideas. And then, somehow, simply, like I said, just came out of nowhere. And I originated was going to be a 3-part video. Was going to be for Uncovered, and then the other tour, and then the third tour that'll be in 1995. But then I said, you know what, let's cram it together in one vid. So let me bring a what-if story scenario where John goes on tour in 1980 to promote Uncovered. The story takes place on May 27th, 1980, where John had set to perform at the Royal Command and delivers a completely unexpected version of the Beatles' Help, transforming it into a slow, emotional ballad that strips away its original brightness and reveals a vulnerability few had ever associated with him before. The performance left the audience stunned and silenced before they erupted into applause, and almost immediately critics began writing about Farnham's performance, and well, no one expected it. Days that followed after the performance, his record label, WBE Records, quickly moves to capitalize on the moment, releasing Help as the first single off the new album. That'll be released in early June. And that'll be ahead, of course, the upcoming album. In a bold and unusual marketing decision, 2 versions of the single were issued. The standard release featured the studio version of Help backed with on the B-side of Back to the Backwoods. And the extremely rare edition contains the live Royal Command performance recorded, and it was only limited for over 100 copies. This rare pressing quickly became a collector's item and builds a growing sense of a mystery around Farnham's new direction. On June 3rd, 1980, his record, Uncovered, is released, revealing a dramatic shift in his sound. The record showcases a hard-edge rock identity, mixing covers and originals in a way that highlights Farnham's vocal and strength and emotional range. While critics are unusual how to place this new version of John, others praise the bold reinvention, and audiences began to see him less as a former pop idol and more as a serious rock performer trying to reinvent himself. To promote the album, Farnham's manager Glenn Wheatley organized a nationwide theater and club tour across Australia. The shows takes place into small, often unpredictable venues where some nights are packed with energy and some struggles with attendees. But every performance pushes him further into his new identity. But there'll be times that John will be doing some covers in these shows, and some will be originals, mostly from Uncovered, and then the list goes from there. Which began as a bold move, as accepted as a pop rock audiences, and signals that he can stand out alongside the country's lead rock acts. As the tour continues, audiences slowly begin to understand that this is no longer the former pop idol many remembered, but an artist rebuilding himself in real time through live performances. The emotional peak of every show comes when he performs Help, a song that has now become a symbolized center of this new era in his career. Following the tension of the touring period, Farnham returns to the studio and records material, and he's been recording some new stuff here and there between from late 80 to early 81. We'll get to 81 in a bit. And records a first new song, and that would be called Too Much Too Soon. Rather than immediately stepping back into studio work alone, however, Glenn pushes for another tour to maintain a momentum. This led to a rebrand and more rugged road show that moves further into original Australian shows, into tougher venues and more demanding crowds. The results are unpredictable, with some nights being triumphant and others were chaotic. But the performances grew tighter, more confident and more defining with each stop. Over time with these shows, they can contribute to his growing reputation as a serious live performer rather than a fading pop star. After he was a pop star, then transitioned from that to a cabaret singer to where he was at that time. What emerges from those years as an artist, forge in small rooms, long drives, and difficult audiences, gradually earning respect through perseverance rather than instant success. As the years passed, 14 years later, Farnham's career steadily rise from these uncertain beginnings into a full national success. And by the mid-90s, he is an established Australian respected artist. And it's in between going from Whispering Jack all the way through to Then Again. So all those records will be performed in this brand new tour. Why did I say a tour? Let me mention about that in a bit. So in 1995, before beginning work on his next album, as we all know today is Romeo's Heart, he announces a special limited run of intimate shows that returns to the same theaters and clubs where he had once struggled 14 to 15 years earlier. These shows felt like a full circle moment, combining his biggest hits with earlier material from his reinvention years, creating a bridge between his difficult past and later success. The 1995 show was unbelievable, and seeing the band and John and perform together, but performing these venues for the very first time for them as well, because John been through that stuff, and now a full circle moment in his career, and say, yep, I done this very well. And it started from all the way from the Royal Command performance all the way through to today. As of today, in 2026, he is one of the greatest performers and vocalists of all time in Australian history. Now let's move on to the set list for these three tours. So in the 1980, aka the Uncovered Tour, we start off with Hold the Line, Matilda, She Is Everywhere, Infatuation, Superstition, One Long Day, Back to the Backwoods, Got to Get You Into My Life, For the City, Knocking on Heaven's Door, She Says to Me, Imagine, and I Love Her, and Help. Then we move on to the 81 set list, and this tour I called it the Backwoods Tour. So we start off with Hold the Line, Matilda, She's Everywhere, Infatuation, Play the Game, Dressed to Kill, There's No Way to Love Someone, Back to the Backwoods, Blame It on Weather, Too Much Too Soon, Please Don't Ask Me, Help, and finally Hollywood Nights. Then we go to, I called this 1995 tour, Back to the Pubs Tour. And we kick off with You're the Voice, Age of Reason, That's Freedom, When the War's Over, Talk of the Town, When Something Wrong with My Baby, You'll Never Walk Alone, Pressure Down, Chain Reaction, Burn for You, Two Strong Hearts, then One Long Day, Playing to Win, Touch of Paradise, and finally full circle moment, that would be Help. By the end of the tour, John and the band going back to the studio to record his upcoming album, Romeo's Heart, and that will be released in June 1996. So that is all for the What If video today. Hope you all enjoy. Comment, like, and subscribe. If you all haven't subscribed to me yet, you will miss out any content I'll be putting out. And hit the notification bell if you all haven't done it yet. Take care of yourselves, and see you all next time.